All right, everyone. Well, as you know, what I've done this quarter is I have kind of taken our material, broken it down module by module, basically product type by product type. Last week was multifamily part one, where we brought in a guest speaker to talk to us about how do we finance a development project? How do we do the construction financing? How do we kind of source acquisition money and so forth? So today, what we're talking about is multifamily part two. And who I've brought in this particular week, we're really kind of fortunate to have with us Adam Surnow. Now, Adam is part of Surco Holdings. And one of the things that you guys need to understand and realize is that Adam, like several of our guest speakers, is one of my former students. Well, I don't know if it was many, but certainly several years ago, I think Adam took this particular course, real estate development, here at UCLA, and is now doing real estate development throughout the city. He also has some investments out of state. So we're not going to particularly focus on the investment properties that Adam and his group holds outside of California, but certainly here in Los Angeles, he's doing a lot of multifamily development. He's going to present to us a project today that he's working on what is it, Normandy and close to Melrose, right, Adam? Normandy close to Melrose. Yeah, that's an interesting location. It's an area of town that's kind of redeveloping and gentrifying, and Adam's going to speak to us about that as well. So, Adam, thank you very much for being here with us today. Take it away. Yeah. What do you got to talk to us about multifamily development? Glad you're here.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And to the students out there, you have A+ teacher. I was in your seat not that long, a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago. So you're right where you need to be. Keep trucking along.
Thanks.
Yeah. So my journey, I own and operate a company called Surco Holdings. We are a real estate investment and development firm. Like Mark said, we have a number of projects here in Los Angeles. We have some projects out of state in Texas. But today we'll focus on the multifamily projects here in LA, specifically a project that is a little bit unique in nature to traditionally what I do. And the reason I say that is because anytime you're doing a development, you're going through traditionally a planning process and a plan approval process with the city, right? You say, okay, well, here's a piece of land. Here's what I want to put on it. What do I have to do in order to get the city to say, yeah, go for it, put that on this land? So zoning plays a big part in that. So each lot is zoned a specific use. It's zoned for a specific use and a specific unit number and height and width, right? There's setbacks. So you've got to be, it could be 10 feet from the front of the street, 5 feet from your back neighbor, 10 feet from your side neighbors, 30 feet in height. So all of these things come into play with what you can put on a specific lot. Now there's what's called by right development. And by right development means this zoning for this lot says I can build X, and it doesn't exceed any of the boundaries or the height requirements or anything like that. It is kind of right down the fairway. The plans aren't pre-approved, but what you're putting there is effectively pre-approved, meaning none of the neighbors can vote and say, well, we don't want that there. We want it to be one floor or less, or we want it to be the color blue instead of green or whatever. Because it's technically by right, you are building what the city has already said is okay there. And let me kind of bring this back to what I was saying before, is this project that we're going to talk about today is not a by right project. So what I did was I went to the city and I said, well, my lot is zoned for X amount of units. I want to increase this. And I am in a TOC zone, which is transit-oriented community. So if you're close to the metro or some sort of transit, the city will allow you to apply for a bonus, meaning they increase the amount of units you're allowed and decrease the parking requirement, which is huge. Anyone looking at development, parking is a key issue in terms of what the city will let you do. They don't want you to build 60 apartments and have 3 parking spots, right? So when you apply for this bonus, they allow you to get more units than what your by right would let you get. And they allow you to take away parking spots because you're close to mass transit. You're close to a bus station or a train station or whatever it is. So they say, okay, well, not everyone has cars. We'll let you increase the density there. That process takes a bit longer than the buy right because you're asking for more. There's more of approval process. There's neighborhood planning meetings. Your neighbors can complain. So you kind of go through a little bit more, but you're able to get more units, right? So you can make a bigger project on a lot that may be the same size as another lot. So one lot, you may be able to put 4 units on, but if you go with the TOC bonus, maybe you can get 14. So, you know, you kind of have to balance that line of where does it make sense for me to push a little bit and get more units, even though I'm spending more time doing it?
Right.
And where does it make sense to just, hey, let's just build what they say we can build here, get through it quicker, build it and be stabilized. So
now listen up, everybody. Listen to what Adam is saying. A couple of things. I'm hopeful that you're not letting this skip by. Number one is that proximity to what are called offsite externalities, meaning how far away am I from a transportation stop? How far away am I from a transportation corridor? How far am I from employment or retail or entertainment or hospital or medical or food sources or maybe a public park? So the more proximate, the closer that we are to these offsite externalities, the more desirable that becomes for the end user of the space, whether it's retail or even a residential. That's number one. Number two, don't miss what Adam is saying here in terms of density bonus, right? When we have a lot, we are limited in the number of square feet that we have. We have a finite number of square feet. But if you are located proximate to these desirable offsite externalities, the city will give you a density bonus. So one of the things that we don't cover in this particular class, Adam, is the financial component, the spreadsheets and stuff like that. But I do have a number of links that we've included that show that value is a function of this net operating income. So therefore, what Adam is saying to you, the more number of units you can stack on your finite space, the more value you can derive from that lot, from that particular project, the more housing that can be created and the more value that can be created as well. Thanks, Adam. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So with this particular project, we were in a TOC bonus zone. So we applied for that and we got approved. So we are approved for the building that we wanted from a unit standpoint, not yet from a building plan standpoint. So it's important to note that the entitlements are different than your building plans, your construction plans, right? So the city said, we will approve you to build this amount of units, this wide and this high with these setbacks. But that's just the approval to do that. We haven't said yay or nay to your actual building plans yet. So they're two processes, right?
Right.
But we're through with really what the challenging part is, which is saying, hey, will you allow us to do more? Go a little higher, go a little wider, do a few more units than you wanted us to, right? So we got through that. So that's part of the project that we're going to discuss today.
Now, when you got the density bonus, Adam, were there conditions to that density bonus, meaning that for that increment above the by right, or just for that density, that increment number of units, was there an affordable component to those units? Those are reserved for a certain level of income?
That's a great question. So yes. So what happens is the city says to us, okay, by right, you can build 12 units here. We're going to let you build the 20 that you wanted to build. However, we want you to make 2 of them for extremely low income families.
Right.
And we said, okay, great. So that's a trade-off we're willing to make. So what we're finding, and not just in this project, but that we're discussing today, but another one, we are including these affordable units, which the city mandates, and they get to choose which units they are in your layout as well. So it's not like you get to say, okay, well, we'll make the 2 basement units, the
Right.
affordable housing. No, no, no. They say, okay, well, here's your four levels. It's going to be this unit on the top right and the one on the bottom left. That's the ones that they want to be affordable. Now, what you do with those is up to you. If you want to make them smaller bedrooms and have a 3-bedroom unit or a 5-bedroom unit, you know, it has to be a minimum of something,
Right.
but they get to choose the location.
Right. And are you finding, before we kind of roll into, we keep teasing the class, we are going to roll into this project that Adam's going to review for you today. But when you do add the affordable component units, have you found that the cost of construction is, let me put it this way, that the return or the net operating income or the return for those affordable units more than outweighs the cost of construction? Is it worth it for you to put the affordable in or not? Would you rather have not the affordable components, or would you rather have them because of the density bonus?
Yeah, I would rather have them because having those units allows me to get a bigger building and more units. So if those units are only bringing in, I know it's not a finance class, but if those units are bringing in $650 a month, which would be really low, it allows me to get 4 more units that are bringing in $4,500 a month. So
Got it.
if I break the project down on a per door basis, I'm still at a good value, or a per square foot basis, I'm still at a good value. It hurts your NOI, right? Because you have you have 2 units that aren't bringing you in a ton of income.
Right.
But from a value standpoint, it allows me to generate more revenue and build a project that has more doors. And you know, when you sell an apartment building, a lot of times one of the metrics that folks look at is price per door.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, that's a fantastic introduction, Adam. Thank you very much. Do you want to just tell the class very, very briefly how you got your start in the business and kind of how long you've been doing it?
Sure. So I I worked for another real estate company for a number of years, and then started my own investment firm in 2014. And I was doing single family homes, flipping houses, doing renovations, and then doing some ground up homes. And decided that I wanted long-term cash flow and appreciation. I wanted annuities. It was great to be in and out, make a chunk of money, but it doesn't last.
Yeah.
You're kind of playing the market, and I didn't want to pretend that I knew where the market was going to be a year from the time that I started building a house. So I liked having the apartments where you have a plan B. You can sell the building, you can lease the building, you can sell one building, lease another building. So there's like a plan B. If you decide, if you wanted to sell and you couldn't, you can rent it out. Really tough to do that with a single family model.
Yeah.
So I transitioned into the apartment building stuff, and here in LA, I'm looking at deals and I'm like, God, there's just no meat on the bone. How do you buy projects here that, you know, they're selling at a 3 cap or a 4 cap or $1 million a door? Like there's nothing left for the guy who's buying it to make money on. It was an old rich person's game. And I was young and not rich. So it was not the game for me. I said, how do I figure out how do I get in this business? And figure out how to make it work financially. So the only way I could do it was to add value. And that, to me, I didn't like the risk of buying an existing building and trying to negotiate with the tenants and see if you can do buyouts. There's a lot of moving parts there, and it's not my area of expertise. I have friends, and that's all they do. That, you know, they love that business. They know it. They have a system. I don't know it. And it was a bit risky for me. So I said, how do I start fresh? Let me just build some buildings. And what's the closest thing to a single family home from a construction standpoint and a planning standpoint? And that was like the double duplex model, a 4 unit building on what was a single family house. It was on grade construction. It was wood framing. There was no MEPs or mechanical, electrical, plumbing plans. It was really, all right, let's put a light bulb there and a light bulb here. And so it was not so sophisticated, because I don't take myself as a sophisticated guy. I'm a bootstraps on the ground. Hey, get your hands dirty and figure it out. So that kind of transitioned into, all right, we did one of those, bought a few more, started building those, and quickly realized that it's great if you are using all of your own money. But if you start taking investor money, these deals are great deals, but they get a little thin from a dollar standpoint. The percentage return, so it's interesting. Again, I don't want to get too into the finance. I know it's a development class, but the percentage return relative to the dollar return is different. You can make a good percent, but you don't want to put up all this, if there's only 50 grand of income and it's a good percentage, like a cash on cash return, it's not a lot of dollars in terms of actual dollars. So how do you split up 50 grand between you and the investor? So the deal that we're going to look at today, which we'll get to right now, is a much bigger scaled project, which just means that there's more meat on the bone to split up between me and my partner or our investor or whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of gearing, kind of making that transition into the larger deals just because of that. It's so much work to do a fourplex. It's the same amount of work to do a 20 unit. So you may as well say, hey, there's more money there.
Exactly. And one of the things, and we'll get to it right now, I promise, class, we're getting to the PDF right now. One of the things that I have seen with Adam is that he started kind of developing smaller projects, and now, they're just getting bigger. And the attitude, and quite rightfully so, is, listen, if I'm going to get brain damage by developing a 5-unit property, why don't I get the same brain damage by developing a 50 unit or a 90 unit? Why not? Land assemblage is what becomes the issue, finding enough land to get that extra density. So Adam, I'm going to pull up this this particular PDF here.
Great.
And you let me know kind of how you want to roll with the slides, and then I'll adjust them as we go. Okay.
Sure.
So this is Adam's project on Normandy. Go right ahead.
This is a project that we have funded. Like I said, we have gotten our entitlements approved. Our building plans are with the city. They haven't yet been approved, but we've owned it for over a year. I think the date in here, we bought it in October, I believe, of 2021. So about a year. And so the address is 570 North Normandy Avenue. And this is just a kind of a pitch deck, a little disclaimer. It's myself and my partner in the project. My company's called Surco Holdings. His company's called Slab Capital. We do this stuff together, but he has his own branding. I have my own branding. I have a project that he's not involved in. So in this particular case, we branded it as a Slab Capital deal. And on the next slide, you'll see the project highlights. So our business plan here is to buy this land for all cash. And the reason I say that is because the debt, when you're holding land, can really become expensive. If you spend $1 million and your interest rate is 5%, it costs you like 60 grand a year just in interest to carry it. And we knew that in this project, because we were not going by right, our timing for plan approval would be substantially longer. So we said, well, how do we not spend a ton of money in interest up front? Well, let's use cash to buy the land. So in this project, we bought the land, and our idea here was to build 20 units, 20 apartments. And right now the lot was a single family home. So we didn't have any apartment replacement units. So had this not had a house on it, had this lot had a 5-unit apartment building on it that we were tearing down, we would be responsible to replace, if not all 5 of those units, a portion of those 5 units at the old rents. So say they had 5 units and each tenant was paying $1,000, I would have to offer 5 units in my new building at $1,000 a unit. So that really changes your economics to build this brand new beautiful building and have to take 20% of your building and give it away at $1,000 a unit can become challenging. So one of the really nice things about this project was it had a house on it. So we didn't have to replace that unit. So we can tear the house down and build our 20-unit building. So that shows you kind of our current lot, our address. We paid $1,550,000 for it. It is a 9,000 square foot lot, and it was zoned R3, and it's in an opportunity zone.
Well, you got the trifecta there, Adam. You got 9,000 square feet of land in an R3 already, like handed to you on a silver platter, plus an opportunity zone. Wow.
Right.
Triple.
Right. So our pitch to our investors was, hey, if you either sold real estate or you sold stocks or you have some sort of capital gain income that you are in need of placing, that you are in need of paying capital gains tax on, you can put this into this project and have a huge discount on your capital gain tax. And also, if we hold the project for 10 years and sell it, say it cost us 10 million bucks and we sell it for 20 million bucks. Well, normally you would have a $10 million gain and you would owe the government a big chunk of money. In the Opportunity Zone project here, if we sell it for 20 million and it only costs us 10, we don't have a capital gain tax on that, which is really, really incredible. It's not something that they've really ever had before. Usually you have to do a 1031 exchange and exchange that into another project to defer your tax gain. In this instance, you don't have one. So it's really a nice little booster for our investors who put in the money and ourselves who share in it. So here's a picture on the right of the project.
And Adam, before we kind of move on to the deck, just so the class knows, Adam's bringing up opportunity zones. I will have a number of links posted in this particular week's module that define and describe opportunity zones, as well as a link for all of the opportunity zones in the entire state of California. California has 88 opportunity zones, some of which are here in Los Angeles. Go ahead, Alan.
Yep.
Adam.
So it shows us, here's a couple of our previous projects as a track record, so that we're showing, hey, this isn't the first project we've ever done. So yes, you're risking your money with us, you're investing in us, but it's not for us to just hope that we do well, right? Here's where we're at. Here's what we've done. Here's what we've funded. And then at the bottom of this is our current opportunity that we're looking to raise capital for. So if we go on to the next one, this breaks down our uses of debt and equity. So on the right-hand side, you see the purchase price of the land is $1,550,000. Above that is our financing cost. So for us to build this and borrow the money during the construction period, it'll cost us $455,000. We have on the left-hand side a development fee and working capital. And the working capital was money that we wanted to raise up front that will take us through the entitlement and planning phase, right? So we bought the land for cash and we want to have enough cash to get all the way to our plan approval. And once we get our plans approved, then I can go to the bank and say, okay, we have a fully approved set of plans. Now we want you to lend us the money to build this thing. So that $791,000 is development fee and money to get us to the point of us being ready to take a construction loan.
Yeah.
So if we keep going down to the next one here, we talk a little bit about the opportunity zone, which you guys will get links to and be able to kind of educate yourselves on. Really interesting part of the business. Just a little picture of Hollywood and the area that our project is in, the Melrose district. And then on the left-hand side is sort of not a rendering of our building, but a rendering of like the height and width of what our building will be. And on the right-hand side is the actual current building. So that's the current house on the corner on a lot that is sloped down. So there's some grading and there's some kind of more intense construction related items than building just a slab on a foundation slab on the ground and going up. This is more of a real apartment building from a construction standpoint. So we keep scrolling. These are renderings of the building. So funny enough, this building has been written up in urban LA. And I don't know if it was the LA Times, one of the local publications. People have really enjoyed the design. My partner, more so than myself, is really into the construction design and the looks of what we're building. I really focus on the capital and the financing and the locations and putting the deals together.
Mhm.
I just don't have the eye for what looks amazing, what really looks nice. So we wanted to build something that wasn't just a box. Like, how do we have elements where you know, the facade comes out, or it's not even, right? So we didn't want to just have a big white box sitting on the corner. So our architect worked with us to help kind of make the building move a little bit and not feel like it was just a, you know, a big wall.
Mhm.
So and another thing that I've learned in this business, that I believe is essential, is oftentimes you see a beautiful rendering like this, and then you get your budget and you start building, and at the end of the project, because you're cutting corners and trying to bring your budget down, the thing looks nothing like the picture.
Mhm.
So what I've learned, because that's happened to me, what I've learned is, when I go to bid the job, I say, is everything included to make it look identical to this picture? Is the greenery on the roof, the shrubs? I want that included. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
what happens is, oh, we didn't have the budget for that. Well, why
Yeah.
didn't you have the budget for that? You saw what I wanted to build. Why didn't you put in a budget for the glass? You know, oh,
Right.
we have to do metal railings on the balcony, but I wanted glass. Look at the picture. So when you're building something, it's essential to make sure that what your general contractor is actually bidding meets what you want to build.
Yeah.
So if we move a little bit on to the next one, so here's our unit, our units here. What are these? Market comparable.
I think
So we're
these are
showing what.
I think these are rent comps.
Yeah, so we've got some rent comps here on what rents are in other projects that are like ours or nearby. Where else do we got? And then, so this is okay. So this is our project. So we've got. So we have, if we're looking at the top, we have 16 2-bedroom, 2-bath units at 1,200 feet apiece, and $3,200 in rent. And then under that is 2 ADUs. And so we are allowed to put in ADUs in our project, which of which we'll get 2. That'll be 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Mhm.
We'll get $1,000 a unit. I'm sorry, 1,000 square feet for those, and $2,400 a unit for those. And then here, as you were saying, Mark, are low income units.
Right.
So these ones we'll have 2 units, 2 bedrooms, 2-bath. We'll make them a little bit smaller. And again, we don't get to dictate where they are, but in our housing department application, we'll know before our building plans are approved which units those are. So
Right.
we can plan the building kind of around it. So that's your income and your unit count. And then if we come down to our construction details, we've got our construction costs here. So what is our construction cost? We have a construction cost of $4,950,000. We have a contingency, which is kind of a buffer of $247,000. Our contractor's fee we have of 10%. I was able to negotiate that down to 8%. But for underwriting and marketing purposes, this is what we had at the time. A
Mhm.
building footage of 22,000 and a price per square foot of the building of $284.
Not bad.
And again, it's, you know, it's kind of this a lot of the same information in different tranches in this
Mhm.
project outline here.
Mhm.
Again, at the bottom, you have project cost details, land, construction, financing, which we just touched on. So it's the same kind of stuff. And a total deal cost of $8.5 million roughly.
Right.
So if we get to the next slide here. So this is basically a 10-year projection on the project. So we have some assumptions here. We have the property name, the number of units, the project costs in the upper left-hand side. We have the project cost and then the value upon completion. So if you look, our project costs roughly $8.5 million, and we're saying it's going to be worth $10,780 at the end. So we pay off our loan. So if we go down, loan repayment, we pay the loan off of $6,147,000. And of the 2.3 million of cash that we put in, we're going to give back to our investors 1.9 million. So in this project, we'll only have $400,000 of cash.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? Well, that means that our investors put up 2.3 million of money that, in this case, it's an opportunity zone. So we structured it so that it was people's gains. It was capital gains. They would have had to pay a bunch of taxes on. They put it into this project. We built it. We rented it out. And once we rented it out, we were able to refi and give them back $1.9 million of the 2,350. So they were able to satisfy their tax obligation by investing it in, and we gave them $1.9 million of the 2.3 back. So they have their money in their hands and they own the project. It's a incredible scenario because we were adding enough value to be able to refinance and get some cash back.
Right.
So at this point in time, we only have $400,000 of cash in the project. And if I'm looking at the bottom yellow line, the cash on cash for the project is 13.5% after the first year of operations. Right. So it's cash on cash at 13.5%.
That's incredible. Why, Adam, why are numbers so really attractive on this particular deal? Is it because at the very front that you bought the land right in the first place, and because of the extra density, or would you just say we just got a screaming deal on the front end?
The land cost was really everything in this deal. And as a matter of fact, on the street called Mariposa that we have 4 or 5 other projects on, I just was looking at 2 lots next to each other to build this almost the same building, and we paid $1.550 million for this lot, and they wanted like 2.4 for the same thing.
Yeah.
So I said, it just doesn't make sense. So for us, really the value was in us being able to buy the lot for what we paid for it, and take the time to push the density. Right.
Yeah, and that
was huge.
Listen up, Adam is demonstrating everybody an absolute universal truth in real estate is that wealth is not created in the buy. I'm sorry, wealth is not created in the sell. Wealth is created in the buy at the very front end of the deal. We can realize that wealth at the end or at the exit or kind of whenever we're going to leave the transaction, but it's created at the very front end, which is perfectly what Adam is demonstrating here on this deal on Normandy. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, it's in the buy. If you're able to assemble a couple of lots and really get a screaming deal on it, you've got options. You can build it, flip it, you can hang on to it. I mean, that's where your money is made. And so in this instance, the buy was where we really lucked out in the price here.
Yeah, indeed.
Which
is it your intent to hold this for 10 or 11 years?
Yes. So to fully satisfy the opportunity zone benefit, we have to hold it for 10 years.
Right.
But the beautiful thing on a project like this is that over that 10-year period, while you're satisfying that those requirements, you're cash flowing. I mean, so each year, you have cash flow of 55,000, 71,000, 88,000, 106,000. So after 10 years, you've got like $1.6 million of cash flow. So it's not like, and by the way, you've pulled out, what have you pulled out? 1.9 million of your 2.3. So, the building's getting more valuable and you're cash flowing and you're paying down your debt. This does not include a refi in the middle of it. So it's very much straight. Told you, I'm not a sophisticated guy. I like easy. I don't want to overcomplicate things. So if you're able to refi, it's a nice little bonus. But so in this instance, and if we look down towards the bottom of this slide, what we've done is shown the split between me and the investors. So the investor split. Investors get 70%. Me as a developer gets 30%. So I broke down how that looks for the investor. So where the project makes 13.5%, the cash on cash to the investor is 9.4%. Because I have to eat too, right? I'm doing all the work, and I'm getting a construction loan. I'm finding the land. I'm doing all the design
and doing all that traveling
and
doing all that traveling and posting all of those wonderful pictures on Facebook that I'm so jealous of, Adam.
That's it. Somebody's got to.
Adam loves to travel. Everybody, Adam loves to travel.
So this was a project that was really attractive to us, and we're trying to duplicate. We have another project similar in nature in Koreatown on Wilton and 6th Street. That'll be a for sale condo project, and I'm trying to get into escrow on another project close to Beverly Hills. So the idea here is to scale. And listen, I don't recommend anyone just come out of school and build a 20-unit building. I mean, I believe it's a crawl, walk, run process, and get comfortable, figure something out, understand it, and then kind of grow from there.
Right. So would you say, Adam, that as you've kind of progressed in your development career, that the 50-unit buildings isn't what you started out with, but what you did is you started small, got a track record of success, recycled investor equity into other projects, and you just keep rolling on from there. Would you say that's kind of attributed to your success?
Absolutely. Is starting with something that's manageable. My first deal, what did I know about a 40-unit building? So my first deal was renovating a house, small 1,200-foot house, because it was manageable, something that I could understand and I wrap my hands around. First timer going into a big project like that. People get googly eyes. Oh, it's 50 million bucks or 30 million bucks. Like that, to me, I was like, whoa, let's get there. Let's build to that point.
Yeah. Now, as you're kind of scaling your business and as you're increasing critical mass and getting more deals completed, would you say that, are you at the place in your development firm growth where you're beyond kind of that initial entrepreneurial phase and you're kind of getting structure and maybe getting systems in place? I mean, how are you finding your deals? Are you on the phone? Are you relying on brokers? I mean, what's happening in your day-to-day business that kind of keeps the business open and going?
Yeah. So that's a great question. My day-to-day business had to change because there was no time for me. So I was a one-man show. It was me answering the phone. I'm talking to the plumber in Houston. I'm talking to the electrician here in LA. I'm talking to the planning department. So there's only so much you can do in a day. And so I have hired some folks to run my day-to-day of my back office so that I'm not inundated with tenant phone calls and vendor phone calls. Oh, did you send the check for the lawn care guy over here? No, I now got to the point, and that's a scary point to get to too, where you're like, oh, I have employees. Oh my, how am I going to pay these people? Right. Yeah. So I got to the point where I value my time in sourcing new ways to make money. So I spend my time in financing, dealing with agents and banks and investors and our general contractors and architects working on new income streams. And so when I was able to kind of take my hands off the wheel for the day-to-day of the operating business, it allowed me the luxury of having time to talk with agents. And I'll tell you this too, action breeds action. You buy a project and lo and behold, and I don't know how they know, people call, hey, I saw you bought this one down the street. You interested in this? I saw you like this. And you're like, whoa, how do you know this? But yeah, I'll take a look at it. And so word travels fast.
So deal sourcing is, would you say that as your business is growing, that probably the two primary components that you have to continuously fuel for your growth is finding sites and finding equity? Would you say those are basically the two twin evils, so to speak?
So the finding sites, I feel, is not the issue. I think it's coming up with the equity. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this. We've talked about this many times at length. I'm not at a point where I go to the big institutions to raise capital. I don't call up, private equity fund and say, "Hey, send me 43 million bucks. I have this deal that's 150 million, and I need a big check." I raise 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 million, and it's 50 grand, 25 grand. I'm calling my buddies. I'm calling past investors, and we get new investors. And by the way, I don't advertise, "Hey, come invest." It's word of mouth, and you make somebody money, and you're honest and you do right by them, chances are they're going to want to continue to play ball.
Yep.
And so, I've found a lot of opportunity, but then you have to get down to the nitty gritty and say, okay, well, which one of these 5 deals do I like the most? And am I willing to spend the time to get on the phone and put the money together?
What site do I want to spend the next 3 years on, right?
Exactly right.
Adam, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, listen up, everybody. I don't want to take much more of Adam's time. I'm really grateful, Adam, that you took some time to meet with us today. Again, Adam is a former student. He's doing exactly what he learned to do. He's hustling up. He's finding sites. He's dealing with investors. He's wondering if the gardener got their check that particular month, and he's illustrating the growth and kind of the path of a real estate development firm. He started out small, kind of a one-person show. Maybe he has now a partner or two, some investors along the way. So he's got growth. He's got maturity, maybe not quite yet in his development firm, a level of maturity. He's still growing. So Adam is kind of groping through this infrastructure that he has to put into his business that all of you have learned in chapter 2 of the Pizer text called Organizing for Development. So unlike Adam, Mason Speed Sexton and Cricket Road, you are doing everything right. So congratulations. Our protagonist in one of our case studies, I don't know if you remember this or not, 503 Cricket Road, this foray of this developer who inherited a piece of property, doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, and is just trying to grope through the process. So, you're doing it right. And it's really, really cool to see you succeed. So we're very grateful for your time. Any kind of last minute pointers or something for, a group of perhaps beginning developers who are looking to get into the business? What should they be looking for? What they should watch out for? Any kind of words of wisdom from you?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I learned was, instead of just trying to do it myself, find somebody who's doing it and hang on to their coattails, learn from them. Say, let me watch you. Don't pay me. Just let me observe. Let me be a fly on the wall. I never thought that I knew how to do everything. So I would soak up as much as I could and hang with a guy who, hey, do I want to do that? Yeah. Well, who's doing that? Oh, this guy or this woman or this person's doing it. All right, let me reach out to them and just ride their coattails and hang out and figure out, like, what are they doing? And then I'm a little bit more confident. So
yeah.
To that note, Mark, you can feel free to share my email with anybody in the class. If you guys have questions, I am an open book. I'm happy to answer questions.
Adam is a mensch. He's really a gem, because he'll tell you straight, like, hey, what do you want to do? You want to find a site? You want to find an architect? What are you doing? Are you knocking out hammers and nails, or what's going on? So he'll cut to the chase and talk to you straight. Any last kind of words of wisdom, Adam? Anything? Just wrap it all up for us.
No, you know what? It's a great business to be in. It's entrepreneurial, and I encourage folks to enter this business and bet on yourself. That's what it is. You're betting on yourself, and you can never lose when you're betting on yourself. There
you go. All right, Adam. Well, thank you very much. Hold on just 1 second. Let me conclude the class recording here. And what I'll do is I'll put all of your contact information. I won't put your cell number, but I think it's probably on your deck anyway. But
probably is.
Yeah, probably. Adam's email and stuff. Give him a call. Give him an email if you're looking to kind of put two heads together. Adam's very willing to help. So that's if he has the time. So thank you very much, Adam. Very grateful for your time. I'll end it right here, and I'll come back right to you.